Thank you to the T5 peeps, Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Catcrab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Mist. Thank you very much. Through the Heart, written by Warpmind. I'd been hired to deal with the human ambassador. Ambassadors are always tricky. Extensive security personnel, very hard to get close to, virtually impossible to take out from afar, what with the personnel shielding against rapid kinetics or energy weapons. But I, at the best, and my clients pay for expert services, so I acquiesced to my client's requirements. The human ambassador, one Conrad Wagner, will die. Finding the anatomical information pertaining to humans was surprisingly easy. Unlike most civilized species, humans don't seem to bother with such petty concerns as keeping their weaknesses a secret. A lot of needlessly hardy and redundant organs, multiple different blood-cleansing organs. It seemed 2 lungs, spinal cord encased in a calcium structures, bloody death welders built to last. There it was. Single heart, slightly off-center in the torso. Perfect. I spent some time in the holochamber perfecting the kill. Arranging a moment away from the gods would be all I needed. And with this practice, I would unerringly aim my quill at the man's heart and see death reflected in his eyes before I would have to flee. Easy enough. Tomorrow, he would be attending a meeting, and I would be there to make sure that it was his last. Ambassador Wagner chugged down another viscous liquid with a grimace, letting out a slight cough. Remind me, upon returning to Earth, to indict the bastard in charge of ambassadorial pharmacology. We have 2 flavors of cough syrup, liquid death and fecking cherry. I hate cherry. Dr. Olson sighed. My apologies, Conrad. There is nothing I can do about that. I put in a requisition, but the round-trip time came in a couple of weeks. I expect you'll be over the cough by then. Now, I'll be in the nearby staff room while you're at the meeting. If you feel any worse, come and see me right away. The infection may be gone, but you're still recovering. And stress can... Wagner snapped. I know. But I'd rather get stabbed than taste that crap again. Dr. Olson smiled wryly, fishing up a syringe and a small bottle from his kit. Could be arranged. Your B12 shot is coming up soon, in any case. Wagner just glared at him, turned in his heel, and stalked towards the meeting room. I could barely believe my luck. The ambassador had recently suffered some infection and might need to leave the meeting room, and the guards were posted away from the meeting room itself, in the staff room. They'd be able to react to shouting, but with the slightest amount of luck, the ambassador would have no time nor breath to shout. I could not have planned it better. Disguised as embassy staff, setting up refreshments, I tampered with the air conditioning, lowering the air moisture in the meeting room. Unlike the human, the other species present were from drier worlds, and so would not be bothered by dry air. But the human's respiratory system would. Enough, I'd wager, to induce an irritation to his already weakened respiratory system, and send him to his physician. I just had to linger outside the meeting room and wait. Wagner listened to the Lysel ambassador drone on. The reptilian-looking species had found that Mars apparently had a suitable soil quality for their species, and wanted to find something humanity would want in exchange for the desert world. He coughed into his hand, frowned, and then coughed again. Yes, Ambassador Wagner, was there something you wished to address? Wagner shook his head, coughed once more. My apologies. No, I seem to... the air is a bit too dry, I think. If you'll pardon me, I need a moment to speak with my personal physician. If you'd not mind raising the air moisture level a little in my absence, I'd consider it a personal favor. The Lysel seemed to perk up, eyeing an opportunity. Of course, Ambassador Wagner. I'll see to it right away." As Wagner left the room, the Liza was almost climbing across the table to get to the AC controls. The ambassador left the room alone, as I anticipated, before he even realized I was there. I stepped up and laid my hand against the left side of his chest, and a quill in my wrist shooting out and going straight through his torso, poking out the back for a brief moment. He stared at me in pure surprise, coughed for a moment, then his eyes flashed with rage. He gripped my arm with both of his, with a strength that couldn't be possible once his heart was pierced. He should be unconscious in seconds, and brain dead in minutes, and yet, what in the name of the hunt was going on? Wagner felt the quill go straight through his chest, the shock making him stagger for a moment. Then he reflexively gripped the assassin's arm and started to squeeze as adrenaline flooded his system. "The feck, assassin!" He felt the arm dislodge the quill and pull away, and started bending it sideways with a sneer. "You're not getting away, you son of a bitch!" The ambassador jerked me off balance as I released the quill, and within seconds, a very large fist impacted with my head. The guards were quicker than I expected at the sound of struggle, and there came the damnable physician too. Though he'd not likely have the necessary surgical tools for the barbaric human practice they called heart surgery here. I accomplished my mission, even if I was caught. Then another fist impacted my head, and everything turned to darkness. So, going through your files to determine who your client was. So far, we've tracked payment through half a dozen intermediaries, but our digital forensics teams are very good at what they do. Having caught you alive was certainly a boon, though. I grinned weakly. "It doesn't matter. My life is forfeit, but your precious ambassador is dead. Whatever my client hoped to achieve will come to pass, regardless of whether or not you eventually find them." The investigator arched an eyebrow at me. "That's a bold assumption." I shook my head. "Hardly. Even with the doctor unseen so quickly, humans cannot survive an impaled heart for more than a few minutes. He's dead." The door opened behind me, and a chill went through my body as the last voice I'd been expecting to hear raged out. "Actually, if you hadn't stabbed me, I would be dead soon. I owe you my life." I tried in vain to turn around to look at the man who entered. Ambassador Wagner stepped around my chair and sat down to face me. Funny thing, when the surgeons began to patch up my lung, they found a tiny growing tumor, a cancerous lump that was both extremely new and extremely aggressive, most likely caused by the recent bout of pneumonia, but wouldn't have shown up in scans that I'd done while dealing with that. They did get it out, and I'm on quite aggressive monitoring to make sure that it doesn't come back. But if not for that implement of yours, I would have been dead in perhaps 2 months. So, thank you. I suppose there's a bittersweet irony in knowing that in your attempt, you saved your last victim's life." He got up to leave, and I stammered out, "But how? My aim was perfect. I pierced at least one of your heart chambers, maybe 2. You cannot still be walking around, let alone be alive. What dark sorcery is this, human? What deceit is in your files?" My rage grew, along with my professional dignity. "What manner of cheating does your species use when all your own documents state that a human won't survive a punctured heart?" He stopped and came back to look me in the eye. "Oh, that, almost any other man, and you'd have succeeded. I have a rare mutation called Citus invertus, not something that's common knowledge." He grinned crudely, "And since that was one of our dead languages, not in the commonly available auto-translator files, you're going to have a lot of time wondering what the hell that actually means." He coughed as he left, and I could hear his doctor's voice in the corridor. "I hope that was worth it, Conrad. You really should be resting. Here, for the cough." The ambassador let out a displeased noise. "Fecking cherry flavor again, isn't it?" A gulp followed by a gagging noise, and the doctor's feigned innocence. "No, you complained so much last time, so this time it's liquid death flavor. I guess neither of us have their heart in the right place. End of story.
And that, my friends, concludes